There is a podcast that lies between the imagination of two simple-minded earthlings. Travel with these two longtime friends, Jimbo and 80s E, as they attempt to explore the fifth dimension. Follow along with them as they take the key and unlock the door to the vast space between shadow and substance. This podcast is one of trivia, of insight, and of sounds and ideas from one of the greatest television shows ever produced. You are embarking on a timeless journey. There is your signpost up ahead. You are entering the tragedy of cinema's Twilight Zone.
Mr. and Mrs. Arthur Castle, gentle and infinitely patient people whose lives have been a hope chest with a rusty lock and a lost set of keys. But in just a moment, that hope chest will be opened, and an improbable phantom will try to bedeck the drabness of these two people's failure-laden lives with the gold and precious stones of fulfillment. Mr. and Mrs. Arthur Castle, standing on the outskirts and about to enter the Twilight Zone.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Tragedy of Cinema, the Twilight Zone series. I'm your host, Jimbo, and today joined by
80s E, back in the fifth dimension. Yep.
Once again. We are on episode 2 of season 2, The Man in the Bottle.
Wait. Before I wanted to say something. I didn't mean to interrupt, but we should give full transparency here. All right? I'll just go ahead and disclose this early. So the episode before this, The King Nine Will Not Return, was actually recorded about a year ago. So we have been on, what would we say, about a year, almost a year to the date, hiatus. But we're back now. We've had surgeries, life events, all kinds of things, and we've kind of put this podcast under the rug somewhere in the corner. We've brought it back out, and now we're back.
That's because some of us were too busy going to Myrtle Beach and vacations and all that.
Yeah. We had some interruptions, but I'm glad, just in full transparency, I'm glad we're back and doing this again. And so the first episode might be a little rough around the edges, but hopefully we can get it ironed back out. But this is just a fun time that we both enjoy, and we love this series, and just glad to be doing it again. It's a lot of fun.
Well, now that Eric's ruined the podcast magic, giving you the behind the scenes of what not to do, we're back for season 2, episode 2.
Right. We should have recorded the whole series, the whole second season, and then dropped them now. We had plenty of time to do that, but apparently we're too lazy. So I'm glad to be back in doing it again.
Well, speaking of lazy, season 2 is not starting off with a very good bang for the Twilight Zone. After that tremendous first season, we are coming out of the gates kind of slow, tripping over our own legs. Personally, I think I was expecting a lot more from Rod Serling at this point. I'm sure the studios were too. But before we get too far into that, let's go ahead and kick it off.
Take it away.
So take it away.
All right. This is Man in the Bottle. This is the Twilight Zone Season 2 episode number 2. It was directed by a man named Don Medford, and it was, of course, written by Rod Serling. Got featured music here by What You Need by Nathan Cleave. The original air date was October the 7th. What is today? October, for all those people out there? It's October 12th. So pretty close to the date that we are currently at. So this was October 7th, 1960. The original production cost for this episode was $45,462. And as always, we kind of adjust this for inflation. So in today's dollars, actually this is 2021 probably, so it was an 841% increase. So adjusted for today's dollars, it would be $428,205.96. And on that note, Jimbo, have you seen the new Lord of the Rings series that's coming out, or have you heard about it?
Yes, I've actually.
Is it out? Is it actually out yet?
It's on Amazon Prime. They release them every Friday. I think they're on 6 or 7 episodes. I'm only up to like 4 or 5 because of the sad situation that happened with my TV and the mouse running up at it and destroying my 65-inch TV. We won't talk about that. I'm a little bitter, but until I can get a new one.
No, we won't. That would be too sad. So just on the note of inflation, I heard a figure. I didn't fact check this, but apparently that series cost $700 million to produce. That's how much money was put into that series, and I want to say it was I think there are like 7 or 8 episodes. It's like $100 million per episode to produce that.
I heard it was $1 billion that basically Amazon Prime put all their eggs into this, making sure that it's basically going to secure their future,
right?
Because they put so much money into it. It's either going to make them or it's going to just break them. So.
Yeah, that is a staggering figure when you're looking at even this. I mean, $428,000 adjusted for inflation for this episode is a measly drop in the bucket compared to what they're spending now. So, I mean, that was just a little side note there. But, Jimbo, do you want to go ahead and take the cast?
Sure. Starring off, probably the main actor in this is Mr. Arthur Castle. He's played by Luther Adler. You may recognize him from the movie DOA or Desert Fox. A little side note I'll throw in here is that he also plays Adolf Hitler in this. And he has previously played Adolf Hitler in 2 other movies, so it was not very a far stretch for him to play Adolf Hitler in this. Then you had Vivi Janis. She played his wife, Edna Castle. She's probably one of the best known for the Phantom from 10,000 Leagues. Then you had Lisa Golm as Mrs. Gumley. She was in the movie The Hoodlum. Then you had Joseph Ruskin as the Genie. He was in Star Trek Insurrection. He was in The Scorpion King. Many other things credited to him too. And last but not least, we have Olin Soul, who played the IRS agent. He was probably one of the most remembered for his works in The Adventures of Batman, where he did play the voice of Batman and Bruce Wayne in the animated series. And he was also in Battlestar Galactica, where he played Carmichael. So there is your cast for The Man in the Bottle.
I know your favorite show, we just talked about that, but he actually played John Masters, too, in the long-running Andy Griffith television show. So I had to throw that in there.
You had to throw that in, didn't you?
Yeah. So again, technical specs. The runtime's 25 minutes. Mono Westrex recording systems. It's a black and white, 35 millimeter negative format, and the cinematographic process is spherical. That's all staying the same. For most of the episodes, we'll get into that little drama maybe later in this. That turns out basically the CBS wanted to save money. And so that becomes greatly apparent as we move along in season 2. But let's move along with the plot. The plot of this episode: Arthur and Edna Castle run a small antique shop, but business is not good, and they're having trouble paying their bills. Despite that, the good-hearted Arthur buys an old wine bottle from the desperate Mrs. Gumley for $1. When he knocks the bottle open, a genie appears offering them 4 wishes. They soon find that their wishes don't lead them to the outcomes that they had hoped for, and certainly don't lead to happiness. So let's go ahead and launch into the episode here while we got everything queued up. Was there anything that stuck out to you, like in the initial scenes or anything that you thought was cool?
I think that Arthur, you can tell he has a heart for people.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And his wife's more business-oriented, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Because he's like, Arthur, because he's tried to hide the cash register where he gave, what was it, $1 or something to the lady or $2 for that bottle. And she's like, Arthur, you know, because they're going over the bills, like, here's the electricity, here's this, and they just don't have the money to pay for anything. But yet he still finds it in his heart to buy that bottle from the lady. Something else that popped into my mind as you were talking, why do you think that in this episode they were granted 4 wishes? Usually when you hear of a genie in a bottle, you're only granted 3 wishes, and one of them being, you know, you can't wish for more wishes.
Yeah.
Why do you think it was 4 instead of 3?
I thought about that as well. I don't know if that's they're just trying to make a distinction between this episode and we have that in our trivia, some other books that were written by Robert Louis Stevenson wrote a book, and then I think there was another 1901, 1901 short story. But traditionally, ever since I was a kid, the lore of the genie in the bottle was always 3 wishes, right? Mm-hmm. And so this one, has a distinct difference that it's 4 wishes. I think I had written something down that I had read in one of the Twilight Zone books that Rod Serling wanted to make a distinction. He had a reason behind it. I don't remember what the reason was, but that did stick out to me as well, that there was 4 wishes rather than 3. Definitely, I thought Mrs. Gumley, the lady here, she doesn't have very many credits. What was her name again? I have to flip back and see.
Lisa Golm.
Lisa Golm. She did a great job as the little old lady. I don't know that she had very many credits, but I thought she played a really good, small little part. But exactly, Arthur is somebody who has a heart for people. He, that could have been his last dollar in the cash register. He's got this stack of bills. He's trying to figure out which one he's going to pay and which one he's not going to pay. And, you can kind of feel the weight. In the early scenes, you can kind of feel the weight of this antique shop is coming down on him. He describes it as like it broke down my grandfather and my father, and it was something that was probably, like a lot of family businesses, probably thrust onto him and passed down, and he's trying to scratch out a living doing this, and he is just not having any success at all, and all of the weight of that is sort of settling down on him. But he cannot turn this lady away. He has to help her out, and not only her, but we can go ahead and skip ahead in the episode. Well,
but I
don't want to go skip ahead too far.
Did you get the feeling that he's helped this lady out before? Because he's like, look, I can't give you much today. I think she might be like a returning customer that always tries to come in there and just get a little something extra for.
Sure. Yeah, I think so. I was listening to another podcast related to this episode, and the host kind of tried to describe it like this old lady was getting over on him, or she was using him, and it's like, no, I don't really see it that way. Like, I think he knows that, that the old lady is somehow deceiving him, and that he's a sucker, and that, I don't see it that way. I think he was just a giving, generous guy, and he knew that lady had needs, and he was just trying to help her and support her in any way he could. It wasn't like he was being deceived or taken advantage of. I didn't agree with that assessment of it, but
right. But it's also if he's struggling and he has a business, this lady, she almost looks homeless. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So maybe he's just trying to get her a hot meal or something, and he knows that she's one of the regulars that comes in and tries to peddle. She might have brought him some treasures in the past that he sold for a lot of money. Where he didn't give her enough, but now he feels bad, like, hey, I can still help her out. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, so she leaves this bottle, and it's on the counter here, and Arthur and Edna kind of are talking in the next couple of scenes, and then, in the interest of time, we can move along to the bottle falls onto the ground. Is that right? And then Genie, played by, what was his name? Joseph Ruskin, who has many, many television credits. I mean, Jimbo talked about him a little bit, but I mean, this guy in the 80s, he played on almost every TV show. What did you think about the effect, I guess, of the smoke coming out of the bottle? Obviously back then, well, I always think of like Aladdin and stuff, and then it shows the genie coming out of the bottle. Well, obviously they couldn't do that for the time and place that we're in, but the smoke kind of rises, and then the camera pans out, and then we go to the genie sitting. I think he's like sitting on the steps. Oh, this is Rod here. He's giving his introduction and narration at the beginning of the episode. But I think we don't see the genie coming out of the bottle, but we see him like sitting on the steps after we come back. I thought that was an interesting way to do it. Like I said, I think the genie by far, Joseph Ruskin, is by far. I mean, well, I guess he does kind of sort of appear out of the smoke. But we don't actually see him coming out of the bottle, but we do see him sort of appear out of the smoke. Did you think the genie played a pretty good part, or it was okay?
Yeah, nothing to write home about. I mean, he's not gonna get a tragedy from me at the end of the year for being the best performance or anything.
No best performance tragedy.
Like I said, after watching doing the King 9 Will Not Return, I watched it again, and then coming into this one, you don't really have high hopes. It's better than the first episode of this season, but it's not groundbreaking like, let's say, Mirror Image or some of those other ones from the first season. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think he tried a little too hard.
Yeah.
I just enjoyed it could have been CBS cracking down on him too. You know what I mean?
I enjoyed I thought his maniacal laugh was great. When they make their choices, and then also the exchange, like we're going to get to it here in a second, but when they're having their exchange, and Arthur sort of tries to accuse the genie of tricking him into, you're setting all this up so that I'll fail, and you're tricking me, and they get into that, and the genie sort of takes offense that, no, these are, results. These are the consequences of your decision. Every decision has consequences. How dare you accuse me of, setting this up against you or whatever. I thought that was a cool little exchange.
Well, I also like that the genie tells him, look, he's like, just remember, every wish has a consequence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he warned him. Just remember, if you're ever in a situation where a genie comes to you, make sure you're very specific about your wish, okay?
Yeah, right. If it ever happens. So we get to our first wish. That brings us to our first wish, which is the glass case is cracked, and that's sort of the test wish, right? And so we get to that, and Arthur and Edna they're skeptical, obviously, but they come to the decision. They do something simple, and then the cool little visual effect here in the Twilight Zone, the genie points to the glass case, and then obviously you can see that I don't know exactly how they did this cinematographic detail here, but it's pretty rudimentary for that time. That's what makes it endearing to me. It's not like this big, huge CGI production. It's just like one frame with the broken glass, and then the one frame with the clear glass. It's pretty
right
cool.
Next,
like
right, yeah,
yeah. So that's their first wish. So now, they're starting to change their tune a little bit. They start getting happy, and he goes to Edna. He's like, what do we want? What do we want? And they're trying to decide, what do we want? And Edna's, I don't know.
He's like, money. We need money.
So that's number two. Wish number two is, the big bucks. So they ask for $1 million. And they're overjoyed, and all this money starts falling from the ceiling, right? And and then I think that we go to a commercial break here, maybe.
And you come back, and he's sitting there counted on the floor.
Yeah, exactly. And then Jimbo, he starts handing it out to all the people in the neighborhood, start coming in, which goes back to that point again of this guy's a generous guy. Even when he's got $1 or if he's got $1 million, he's very generous. Anything else stick out to you in this section?
No, it's just everybody's just happy to see him, and
oh yeah, they're happy.
And is that where is Mrs. Gumley come back in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone from the neighborhood, Arthur's like, hey, take this and pay off your mortgage, and Mrs. Gumley is one of the recipients in line, and he gives her a big stack of cash. And everyone's happy, and everything's going great. And in walks the IRS man, unsolicited. He comes in, and he starts bringing them down, so to speak. He comes in, and he levels them with the news that they owe $907 million out of their $1 million in taxes, which is more than a 90% rate. And I had to actually go and look this up, because I was like, 90%? Was this just for the show? Like, did they just jack up the tax amount to drive the story? But no, if you go back to 1960, it was, when you were in that tax bracket, it was about 90%. And it didn't, I have it written down here in my notes. Apparently this was accurate number, and the federal income tax rates did not fall until around 70% until the 1970s. So there was a change in our tax code around 1970, and it sort of, I don't know what you call that. There's a word for it, but it sort of is what it is today. But I mean, back then, I just can't imagine paying $907,000. But I guess you got to realize that you still had close to $100,000 left after you paid taxes. And when you extrapolate $100,000 out to today's dollars, I mean, you'd still have close to like $1 million, right? For 1960, when you think about it.
Yeah, but I guess what I was thinking is when the tax man comes, I didn't think it was 90% taxed. I thought it was only like the 10% tax because they didn't have enough. They said they gave close away to $32,000, I thought, or something like that. I think
it was closer to 50. So, and then they were, excited that they were going to be able to go to Europe. You better hurry up, send me the bill. Me and my wife are going to go to Europe. But no, like literally almost all of their earnings, and it checks out. I did the research, but just to get an idea, I wrote down some figures from 1960, like as far as things go, what things cost. So the average house was $12,700. In 1960.
I'll take two, Alex.
Yeah, exactly. Gas was 25 cents a gallon. A brand new car was $2,600. And a movie ticket was $1, and a loaf of bread was 20 cents. So when you think, all right, they got $100,000 left over at those prices, yeah, they're okay. They'd be doing okay. Yeah. But the problem was, as you just talked about, Jimbo, earlier, they had given away whatever it was, 30. You said 30,000. I think it was maybe 50,000 or whatever. They had given away that much money already. So, that's where their problem is. So they come back, and Arthur is just dismayed because they put all their tax money in a big box, and they have like $5 left after they pay all their taxes and stuff. So
hey, welcome to what we feel like today.
Yeah, so we started right back where we started from. So then the genie pops up, and he's on the stairs, and he's got his cigarette, and he's like, "Are you ready for wish number 3?" So, Jimbo, this
and
is where
I think he warns him again. He's like, "I told you, every wish has consequences." And
right.
So that's where he's like, they're trying to come up with a plan to basically fool the genie, like a foolproof plan, because I want to be,
exactly.
The leader of the country or president, whatever he says.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I want to be a leader of a foreign country, and I can't be voted out of office. You know
right.
what I mean? So he's trying to get
very detailed. Yeah, this time,
right.
Which didn't work out either. Which I thought that was the corniest line, like, I guess, like, "I'm Hitler, it's after the war." Yeah.
Because he wakes up, after he says he wishes, he's like, okay, so you hear bombs going off and everything, and you see him look up from the desk, and that's when he's got the shock of his face, like, that guy comes in with that little, I guess it's poison, he's like, they're at the door,
Right. Which, I don't know that they needed to state that in the lines, like, "I'm Hitler, it's after the war." Like, people would have probably been able to, the viewers would have been able to figure that out, just by watching. But, I thought that was kind of a corny line. But, so after that wish is completed, then obviously the fourth wish is to bring him back. He wants his old life back.
I think he actually wishes that while he's in his office, remember?
Yeah, he's like, "I want to be Arthur Castle again." I don't remember exactly what the line is, but he comes back, and this is sort of the closing scene when he's back to being his old self, and he has his old life, the one that he wished away, the one that he was struggling with, and then the episode closes with, I think, wasn't there like a line like, well, it wasn't a total loss, like, at least we got a good display case and then
a new window or glass case,
and then he hits the with the broom.
The broom handle.
Yeah, the broom handle. Yeah. So do you want to jump into some trivia about
yeah, we can, but I just want to reiterate that when he came back to his normal lifestyle, him and his wife realized, life ain't that bad how we have it.
Yep.
We can make it work, you know what I mean? So we don't need all this other stuff to be happy. So I thought that was very interesting. So one thing you noticed back that when he was Hitler, that the Nazi symbol on the flag is actually reversed. However, the symbol on Arthur Castle's sleeve is correct, as Adolf Hitler used it as an SS. So there's that. Like I said, he played Adolf Hitler in 2 movies before. One was The Magic Face, and the other is The Desert Fox, The Story of Rommel. And the very interesting thing about Luther Adler is he's actually Jewish.
Right,
so he's a Jew playing Hitler. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah. And then just on that note, Jimbo, like you had mentioned this earlier, that he was Jewish and he had previously played Adolf Hitler in 2 movies. And those movies were The Magic Face and The Desert Fox. Actually 3. I have a third one here. Actually, no, that is the second movie is called The Desert Fox, The Story of Rommel. Whatever. I haven't seen either one of those movies, but it's interesting that he was Jewish and he sort of got typecast playing Adolf Hitler. And not only this Twilight Zone, but those other 2 movies.
Right. The genie is actually also that Joseph Ruskin's. He's actually in another Twilight Zone episode coming up in season 3. He's actually plays the voiceover of the Canaanite alien in the episode To Serve Man. So you will see Joseph Ruskin again in season 3 if Eric doesn't take a 2-year hiatus.
Yeah. Hopefully that won't happen.
Yeah.
I have another piece of trivia here written down. It says, on July 19th, Serling composed an alternate ending to this episode in which a nondescript street bum happens upon the garbage can containing the remains of the once broken glass bottle, which has magically repaired itself. He takes out the bottle, stares at it, and then sticks it under his shirt. As the street bum starts to walk away, Serling's voice closes the episode, and perhaps this man, too, will realize that there's an economics to magic, too. Rather, a high cost of wishing. He may learn this fact just as he'll soon realize that in a very strange way all roads lead to the Twilight Zone. So I thought that was kind of a cool little alternate ending that he had thrown in there. But
it did have a cool ending when he takes the genie bottle out because it had broken, and they sweep it up, and he throws it in the trash can outside, and then you see it come back together. I thought that was really well done, too. Mm-hmm. But although Mr. and Mrs. Castle are given 4 wishes, as we were talking about earlier, by the genie in this episode, it is clearly based on an old fable retold in many variations that usually involves the ironic result of 3 wishes given to 2 characters. One of the 2 characters usually wastes the first wish, and in a moment of anger, the other wishes for something that is immediately regretted. Then the 3rd wish must be used to return things to some semblance of where they started out, exhausting the wishes for absolutely no gain. One well-known version of this plot is found in W. Jacobs' 1902 short story titled The Monkey's Paw. Have you read The Monkey's Paw, Eric?
I have not. I mean, I've just in studying this, I've learned of the story, but I've never read either one of those.
Right.
All right. So, what do you think? What's your questions, observations, overall takes? You go first, and then I'll go.
I thought Arthur Castle did very good. Luther Adler, I thought he played a very, very convincing role as a shopkeeper. And I think he has a genuine heart. But then again, you see that when he gets money, he changes. When he gets power, he changes. So money and power always changes people. And not necessarily for the better either. But I think he was genuinely a good man. And at the end, he realized I had everything I needed. Money doesn't solve all your issues. Power doesn't solve all your issues. You just got to stick together and work through it. I thought Vivia Janis did a really good job. She was kind of like the glue that held the family together, if you will, making sure the bills got paid so the husband doesn't overspend. You can ask my wife. That's pretty much how it goes around here. I like to spend. She's more level-headed and centered on the finances. I'm more of the fun guy. Let's have fun. Mrs. Gumley was okay. The genie, it kind of reminds me of, if you remember the episode in season 1 where the devil came to the salesman, the greatest pitch or whatever. He kind of reminded me of him a little bit. Because the most evil people in the Twilight Zone usually look the normalest, if that makes sense. So that's kind of where my mind went with his role in this. And then, of course, the IRS agent. Nobody likes an IRS agent, so I can't really say I like him either. But it was just okay to me. It wasn't. It was better than King 9 Will Not Return, but to me, it's just an average episode that it's not going to win any accolades for me.
Yeah.
And right now, as we're going through this, since it's been so long and I'm rewatching these, you stated way back, probably a year ago, that season 2 was the worst. Season 2 was the worst of all time. You know what I mean? But I know you've changed your mind since because you got further into season 2, and now you're like, oh, it may be the best season of all. You know what I mean? So. Just if you're listening or watching these along with us, or if you're listening to these, just realize it will get better, and it gets really good.
It's about to get really good.
Yeah. So, and coming up here, I think it's episode 6. It's probably one of my favorite all-time episodes.
Yeah.
The Eye of the Beholder. So, just hang with us. I promise you it will get better. If you started with season 2 and you've watched these first 2 episodes, 3 doesn't get much better. I'm going to just go ahead and lay that out there right now either. It may be worse than the first one, but just stick with us. I'm sure it'll get better. So, Eric, what do you think of this episode?
Yeah, I would echo some of those sentiments. My questions and observation, this is just a little observation I picked up when Arthur Castle says early in the episode, I wish, right as Mrs. Gumley walks in the door, a bell rings. So that was kind of, I wish, equating that with the bell. I just sort of summarize it like this: be careful what you wish for, you just might get it. So that's kind of my quick summary. Obviously, we talked about Arthur Castle being a kind-hearted, generous man. He gives, even if it comes at great cost to him personally. Again, I would echo that it's I think what a lot of Twilight Zone viewers call like a palate cleanser, which a palate cleanser has the idea that something better is coming after it or before it. What they call it a palate cleanser episode, but that's not the case. These first 3 episodes, I will just echo again, they're not going to be the greatest, but I'm telling you, back to back to back, there's like, several episodes in a row that are stellar. I mean, I don't know because I haven't completed all 5 seasons, but I don't know that there is a run of that many episodes in a row that are that good that, these next few are going to provide. But, I think it's a palate cleanser. It's got, the only thing that really saves it is, like the next episode too, is it's got a great moral, it's got a good moral to it. And I think that's what makes it play so well for me. Just don't think that, you can wish all of these things into your life just on a personal level or whatever, that life is going to be better. A lot of times we do that. We play things up in our mind and we think things are going to be, my life would be so much better if ... And then, we wish in our minds for those things. We don't actually have a genie, but we wish those things in our mind. And a lot of times we get those things sometimes in our life and they turn out to not be good at all for us. So that's my observation of the episode. And I think we can shut her down at this point.
All right. If you like what you heard, please feel free to leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast. If you'd like to follow us and more postings on the Tragedy of Cinema Facebook group, Eric posts a lot of stuff on there. I post a lot of stuff on there. Good times. So with that being said, I think this episode's coming to a close, and that's a wrap.
And cut.
A word to the wise now, to the garbage collectors of the world, to the curio seekers, to the antique buffs, to everyone who would try to coax out a miracle from unlikely places. Check that bottle you're taking back for a 2-cent deposit. The genie you save might be your own. Case in point, Mr. and Mrs. Arthur Castle, fresh from the briefest of trips. into the Twilight Zone.